Welcome, Earth Angels, to this yoga practice where we're going to be focusing around opening up that heart space, moving gently into the heart chakra and exploring some gentle back bends. So for this practice, you're going to need a yoga mat, and you might want 2 blocks, although you don't need them. They're just optional if you have them available to you. So get yourself set up and we're going to start seated. So coming to find a position that feels comfortable for you, perhaps cross-legged or something a little bit different. You can place a block underneath the hips or come to hero's pose. And we're going to bring one hand to the heart, one to the belly for this first practice. And just feeling the sit bones kind of nuzzling into the floor. From that base, can you then feel length growing up through the spine to the crown of the head, and perhaps you close down the eyes. And allowing for these first few moments, the beginning of our practice today, to just feel into your heart space. So we don't just want to move through the physical poses. Maybe we want to dive a little bit deeper and just allow yourself to kind of witness your emotional body, how you might be feeling as you arrive onto the mat today. And not trying to change that, not leaning into a sense of right or wrong, but just asking yourself, how does my heart feel today? And letting yourself linger in whatever is. And as you allow that energy, say whatever you're moving with, to just kind of sit there, we're going to start to bring a little bit of awareness onto the flow of breath. And just as we did, exploring the emotional body, say not changing the breath, but just allowing ourselves to feel the breath physically underneath the palms of the hands. And then, of course, just how it moves naturally within you today. So from this space, we may want to start to just gently move the breath, if it's not already there, guiding it in through the nose. And maybe these first few breaths, we exhale out through the mouth, a little bit of a sigh. Releasing into that feeling body that we're going to alchemize and move in just a few moments. But again, we'll take that grounding breath in through the nose. Let it release through the mouth with a sigh. And one more time, just like that. Inhale in through the nose. And letting it go. Beautiful. And this time, if you wish, it's your practice, you're welcome to keep that breath moving in through the nose, out through the mouth, but you may want to find or feel into releasing that breath out through the nose this time. And as you make your way into that breath, can you now start to witness the hands kind of rising and falling as the belly and the chest lift and release. And we're going to start to travel into our first physical movement. Now for this practice, if you are kind of focusing your awareness inwards, you're very, very welcome to keep the eyes closed. But the movement we're going to come into is starting by bringing the hands just forward of the knees, still sitting up nice and tall. We're going to take an inhale. As we do, we're going to gently lift the chest, that first little heart opening, tilt the chin and draw the shoulder blades together. And then as you exhale, softening through the spine as you find that rounding sensation, and draw the chin down towards the chest. Beautiful. Finding that in time. Say with your breath, rising to come forward, feeling that soft heart expansion, and then bringing it back. Moving once more in this same way. Inhale, let it rise. And exhale as you bring it back. And as we move through these postures today, just witnessing how it feels, the difference between the heart expanding and closing off. We say, how does that feel each time you come into this practice? So from here, what we're going to do is come to roll over the legs. So making our way just for a moment into tabletop, and it's always nice to have a little wiggle around here. And then we're going to tuck the toes, come into an active child's pose. So reaching those fingertips forward. Maybe we're staying up on the fingertips here. And then letting the head release, maybe down towards the floor, maybe onto your block. And actually just walking the hands a little bit further back so that the hips are down towards the heels. So that was puppy pose before. This is more of our active child's pose. So maybe the head comes down and say, maybe we find a block, but we find that gentle forward motion of the heart here, but closed off in space. And quite a deep stretch for the shoulders. So if this is a little bit too much too early on, bring the hands flat to the floor. And hold here a few breaths. Beautiful. We're going to take our time to come back up for a moment here. Walk those hands back as we sit on the heels, and we're going to interlock the hands back behind us, gently creating a little fist here and drawing the shoulder blades together as then we find that release back through the heart, maybe again lifting the chest here. And softly releasing the hands, making every movement really mindful. We're going to bring one hand down to the side of the mat, allow the other arm to travel up and over. And then press into that supporting arm as you come to the other side. If it feels like the floor is too far away from you here, this might be where you invite in a block. So bring it back up and over. Once more, either side. Lovely. And as we come back to center, we're going to reach the arms back forwards, coming to lie down flat on the belly. So we're going to take our time. So maybe you shuffle back a little bit from here, bringing the hands either side of your mat and taking a moment to roll those shoulders back. Just a gentle lift of the chest here. Can you press into the soles of the feet? Say not rising to a full expansion of the arms because they're a little bit further away than usual. And then follow that movement back to the floor. Lovely. Maybe we take this one more time. Just a gentle lift of the chest, almost a baby cobra. And then bringing it back. Lovely. From here, we're going to send left arm forward. We're going to rest the left ear down, pick up the right foot, and just gently start to tilt over onto your left hip. And you can find a little bit of a rocking sensation. If you want to go all the way into this movement, we're going to place that foot back behind, maybe grounded to the floor, maybe up on the toes. Your practice, what feels best for you. And this free arm can just stay down to the floor in front. And then we're going to come back through center and take that over to the other side. So reaching right arm, left hand comes in to support. We drop the ear, pick up the foot, and then say find the floor, maybe on the tiptoes. Maybe foot is flat and grounded, what feels best in your body. And then maybe that moment, little sway side to side. Lovely, bring it back to center. Hands are going to come underneath the shoulders. We're going to roll them together as we rise up maybe into a little bit more of a fuller cobra here or a baby cobra. And then we're going to come back onto the knees, moving through tabletop. Spread the fingers wide, hips to the sky. We find our way into a downward facing dog. And maybe we take a little pedal through the legs here, maybe even a shake of the head. And then take a moment to ground into the space, into this hold. Lovely, witnessing, kind of being mindful of where your heart is in space. And from here, we're going to take an inhale, lifting the right leg to the sky. Little look forward here, drawing the knee up towards the nose, and then maybe you place the foot between the hands and softly bringing your back knee to land on the mat. Toes soften. Excellent. Bringing your blocks then either side, if you have them to support you, and perhaps rising up onto the fingertips here, creating a little bit of a lift through the chest. Heart shining open. Lovely. So finding a little bit of grounding through the toes. So if you have your blocks, you can find that lift up through the chest here. And if you don't have the blocks, say maybe just bringing the hands onto the fingertips and you can rest the heart space down a little bit more. And then we're going to take, say, maybe staying on the fingertips, maybe you use your blocks. We're coming into a half split. So you might tuck the back toes, start to release back through that right hip. And the toes come off of the floor. So maybe your hands at either side to support you, or they may be a little bit further forward on your blocks, or bring your blocks with you. So staying there for a mindful breath. And then we're going to take a twist. So leaving our left hand wherever it is, we're going to reach the right arm all the way up to the sky, following the fingertips, maybe with the gaze here. And then bringing it all the way back down. Lovely. Start to press the toes down to the floor in front of you. Land the blocks a little bit away. And we're going to take a vinyasa. So bringing both knees to meet back behind us. Gently draw the hips all the way forward as you lower down. And then inhale, roll the shoulders, lifting to find your cobra. Maybe you want to take upward facing dog. And then bringing it back down to the floor, coming to find downward facing dog from here. Maybe a moment to pull back into your child's pose, check in with yourself. And then sending the hips back up high, little pedal through the legs here. So finding that breath, keeping that line of inquiry open, how you're feeling, how you're doing, how that heart space is opening or closing. So there's no right or wrong. And from here, we're going to take that movement we explored to the other side. So starting with an inhale, we lift our left leg this time. Draw the knee forward and then take your time to land the toes between the hands. So maybe you drop the back knee down today. Make it a little bit of a softer practice. And then our blocks might come either side, or your hands might be to the floor once again. So take that moment to find a space where you feel comfortable. Of course, if you feel like you want to move, you don't really want to hold still today. Just exploring through your body where it wants to go and travel today. And keeping that breath gently moving however suits you. And taking our time to find our half split, we tuck the back toes. Start to pick up the front toes. Maybe you drop your blocks or bring your hands down to the floor. And again, keeping that breath flowing, adjusting as you need to, and witnessing the heart just holding in space. Lovely. Leaning into the right arm, we're going to inhale, reach the left fingertips to the sky. Find that heart opening space here. And then bring the hand back down. We start to land the front toes to the floor, moving the blocks out of the way. We come down through another vinyasa. So bringing your front leg all the way back. Draw the weight forward to the wrists and lower it down to the floor. Inhale, maybe you take that lift to say to your cobra, you might come up into your upward facing dog. So just finding a place where you can hold, you can breathe into. And then from here, we're going to come into our puppy pose. So arms are reaching forward. Maybe your head drops to a block or to the floor, and we keep the bottom lifted this time, letting the heart melt forward into the earth. And bringing that awareness, say, into the very base of the spine here as it starts to kind of open as well as part of a heart opening practice. Lovely. We're going to come to rise, maybe a moment through tabletop, walking ourselves a little bit back so that we're resting the bottom down onto the heels. And again, if you have blocks, you might move them either side of you here to support you. If you don't, you can stay up on the toes for the next practice that we're going to come into. So leaning into all parts of this practice today of a space of compassion for your body and kind of where you are today. So just doing as much or as little as feels good and modifying where you need to, especially as we start to move now into some slightly bigger back bends. So we're going to take the time to rise up, say, onto the toes, onto the knees. And we're going to start to take a little bit of movement side to side here, so further opening up that heart space. So we're going to start bringing left hand down to maybe the heel or towards the heel, or say if you have your block, bringing it to the block, and the right arm is going to sweep up and over. So bringing this in time with your breath, we inhale to come forward, we swap the hands to the other side, and we open it out once again. Finding that flow, coming back and forth. And as you build into the movement, say you might notice that little bit more opening into the side ribs as well. And say, bringing your own little bit of creativity into it. How do you feel today? Where do you want to explore? Lovely. We'll go once more either side. And then bringing ourselves back to center, taking a roll of the shoulders. Maybe we move into our camel pose, Ustrasana, or a variation of that. So for a variation, softer version we can do, spread the fingertips nice and wide, create a support for the lower spine. And roll the shoulders, the elbows together, start to take a little bit of a tilt forward into the hips, and then following kind of the length of the neck as you release the head slightly back. And if you want to take this practice a little bit deeper, so you can use your blocks to, instead of holding the back body, bringing your hands to reach here, and then the further depth of that pose is reaching to the ankles. Maybe you relax the feet here. Say, just find a place that you feel comfortable to hold and breathe for maybe 3 or 4 full breaths here. Really working to draw the shoulder blades towards each other, and say that lift of the heart rising up towards the sky, nice and open here. And then we'll take our time, say if you've got the toes tucked, soften them here to bring ourselves down towards the heels, and just find that moment to neutralize the space. Excellent. So we're going to bring the legs round in front of us from here, stretching them down towards the end of the mat. Maybe we flex the toes as you let the hands, the fingers reach back behind you, and just find a gentle lift. You might even lift the heels a little bit here. Letting the head go. Maybe there's a sway side to side. And just realigning, finding that neutral space in the spine without kind of taking that full counter twist or fold. Lovely. And then we're going to make our way down towards the floor. So shuffling the bottom a little bit down towards the heels, knees to the sky as you release all the way down onto the mat. And we're going to brush the fingertips gently against the heels here, getting ready to find a bridge lift. So we'll want to tuck the chin downwards, finding that length as we come to lift and tilt the pelvis towards the sky. And all the points of the body that are resting to the mat, these are our grounding placements. So we really want to press into these as much as possible to help us find that deeper sense of lifting up and outwards. So breath continues to flow as normal. If you want to deepen here, you can roll the shoulder blades together, create a little fist for the hands and press that into the earth. And you can stay here as long as you want. Maybe make this more supportive by placing a block underneath you, especially if you're feeling that little bit of lower energy today. If you're feeling the opposite, and maybe you want to explore your wheel pose, maybe we do this now. So we bring ourselves back down to the floor. We're going to place the hands either side of the head, elbows pointing to the sky, and maybe we walk the feet in a tiny bit more. So just see what feels good for you. Really using our inhale as we take that breath. We're going to press into the hands, into the feet, and start to elevate the head off of the floor. And then as you hold here, maybe you start to find a little bit of extension in the arms. Gently swaying the chest forward to the top of your mat. And take a few breaths there, just staying as long as you feel called to before bringing yourself all the way down. Lovely. So bringing the knees in towards the chest. Starting to lean into a little sway side to side. Massaging through the lower spine. That's been doing a lot of work for us today. And perhaps keeping the knees together, hands staying where they are. We just start to draw them round in circles from here so we can take up a little bit more space in the spine. And change the direction when you feel ready to. Lovely. We're going to send the soles of the feet up to the sky here. Maybe we even give them a little shake. Maybe give the wrists a little shake as well. So starting to ease out of the body, letting everything we've moved through alchemize, and then gently drop the knees down towards the armpits. Maybe you take hold of the feet or the ankles. Spine stays grounded. We come to find our happy baby pose. Maybe there's a little sway in there for you. If you don't already have the eyes closed, maybe you start to lean into that now. And then one last movement either side before we take our rest. We're going to bring our arms maybe into a T shape if you have the space, or bending at the elbows, let them frame either side in cactus. And then drawing the heels away from the bottom, let the feet, or rather the knees, drop to the right hand side. So just kind of rebalancing the back body. Maybe you turn your head the opposite direction. Feeling that breath turning to that steady pace that you've created. You've created that space today. And take your time to come back to center. Pause for a moment here before coming over to the left side. So shuffle the hips to center if you need to, Always as well an option to place a block between or underneath the knees, say closing off any gaps, any spaces. And then coming all the way back to center. So maybe one hand to the heart, one to the belly, as we did at the top of our practice. Making sure that wherever you are, you feel comfortable. And letting the shoulder blades draw away from each other now, so the heart starts to soften into the chest. And just connecting once again, how does the heart space feel? No right, no wrong answer, just whatever is there. And breathing into the very center of the chest, the palm of that top hand. Allowing yourself to be held here in Shavasana. And honoring this space, say from that place of attunement, compassion, all resting and residing in the heart. And you can stay here for as long as you wish to. If you're ready to end your practice, maybe coming to roll over to one side. Gently bringing yourself all the way up to seated. And perhaps joining me by bringing the hands to meet heart center, a little bow of the head. Giving yourself thanks for showing up to this practice today, leaning into that heart space, however it felt, whatever it felt like. And for choosing this moment just for you to check back in and be present. I wish you a lovely rest of your day, morning, evening, whenever you're practicing this. Namaste.